What's going on, guys? I'm Broke, and I'm back with part 2 of my 2024 NFL mock draft. Today, we're going to go over picks 16 through 32. So if you didn't catch the first part of my draft, going over 1 through 16, I suggest you go back and watch that so you know what's going on right now. But other than that, we're going to pick right up where we left off at pick number 17. To be honest, looking at the back half of this draft, I went back and did some redrafting. And it was all because of this pick. Now, the hilarious part is, I didn't change this pick. So at pick number 17, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting Jared Verse, the edge rusher out of Florida State. Now, you might be saying to yourself, Broke, why don't you have the Jaguars picking Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback out of Toledo? The Jaguars need a cornerback. They haven't had a good corner since Jalen Ramsey. Well, I will tell you it comes down to really only one thing. The Jaguars met with Jared Verse, but they did not meet with Quinyon Mitchell. Regardless of the fact that they need a corner, they didn't meet with the corner that I would pick at this point. They did, however, meet with Jared Verse at the Combine, if I understand correctly. Jared Verse also went to Florida State, which means he wouldn't have to leave the state of Florida. That's super convenient. It has no bearing on his draft status, but that's kind of neat. The Jaguars did meet with Kool-Aid McKinstry, the corner out of Alabama. However, I don't have him going to the Jags at number 17. They could surprise me and pick a cornerback, but for all intents and purposes, I'm choosing to go with Jared Verse and adding him to a stable of premier edge rushers. With the 18th pick in this year's draft, I have the Cincinnati Bengals selecting J.C. Latham, the tackle out of Alabama. The reason for this pick is sort of self-explanatory. The Bengals need a long-term solution at tackle. This offseason, they did sign Trent Brown, who is on a one-year contract. He offers a short-term solution, and the man's like 32 years old or something like that, which is forever in tackle years. J.C. Latham perhaps offers a long-term solution to that position need, so I've got him slotted in here at number 18. At number 19, I have the LA Rams selecting Toledo corner Quinyon Mitchell. The Rams have been looking for a premier corner ever since Jalen Ramsey left town. Jalen Ramsey has been getting a lot of attention in this video. Anyway, the Rams need a premier corner. With Quinyon Mitchell, they get a premier corner. Pairing Mitchell with the most recent offseason addition of former Bills corner Tre'Davious White should give the Rams one of the more tantalizing pair of defensive backs in the league. At number 20, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Amarius Mims, the tackle out of Georgia. But Broke, I hear you guys say. You're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. You know the Steelers need a center. You've got Jackson Powers-Johnson left on the board. Why don't you have them picking JPJ the second if you're a Steelers fan? Well, I'll tell you why. At this point, Amarius Mims is the more intriguing prospect than JPJ. To be honest with you, I don't have a first-round grade on Jackson Powers-Johnson. I have him listed as a top of the second round kind of guy. I don't have him listed as a first round pick, unless you're needy. And while the Steelers are needy, they can get a better value picking a bookend tackle. Yes, the Steelers need a center. Bad. But they also need a tackle. No matter how much you like Dan Moore is not a full-time tackle in the NFL. He's a depth player at best, and the Steelers have been trying to use him as a starter for like 4 seasons now. So what I say the Steelers need to do is they need to draft Amarius Mims, insert him at right tackle, and move Broderick back to left tackle where he belongs. Bookend your offensive line with a pair of giant Georgia tackles. Spoiler alert, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers pulling a reverse Philadelphia Eagles this season. Whereas the Eagles selected most of Georgia's defensive line in the past couple seasons, I have them picking Cedric Van Pran, the center out of Georgia, in the second round. That way the Pittsburgh Steelers have 3 Georgia offensive linemen on their offensive line this season. They've got Broderick Jones on left tackle, Amarius Mims at right tackle, and Cedric Van Pran in the center. That's your Pittsburgh Steelers starting offensive line. Boom! Fixed all the problems. At pick 21, I have the Miami Dolphins selecting Byron Murphy II, the defensive tackle out of Texas. Miami Dolphins currently have Benito Jones starting at defensive tackle. And to be honest, I think Jones is more of a depth player at this point. I don't necessarily think he's a starter. Dolphins originally signed him as an undrafted free agent, if I understand correctly. He's bounced between the Dolphins, then the Lions, then back to the Dolphins. I don't necessarily think he's the answer at nose tackle. That's why I have them drafting Byron Murphy with the 21st overall pick. Where are we at now? Oh, Okay, this one's the easy pick. This one's gonna make Steelers fans lose their mind. It's very similar to how I had Drake May picked third after I trashed Drake May at number 2. I have the Philadelphia Eagles selecting Jackson Powers Johnson, the center from Oregon, with the 22nd overall pick. He replaces the elder Kelsey brother as the anchor for the Eagles offensive line. It's a pretty easy pick, and to me, it's a little bit of a reach because I don't have a first round grade on JPJ. Let's see. Okay, at number 23, I had the Minnesota Vikings selecting Jerzon Newton, the defensive tackle out of Illinois. I think Jerzon can come in and compete with Harrison Phillips to be the starting nose tackle for the Vikings. I think that's a solid signing. That's my take, at least. Nice little quick analysis right there. Where are we at? Oh, man. This is where... So this is the hardest pick in my mock draft. The Dallas Cowboys pick at number 24. The Cowboys have a lot of glaring holes. The first and most noticeable one is at running back with the departure of Tony Pollard. They currently have Rico Dowdle listed as their starter. Rico Dowdle has been in the league for 4 years and has a career rushing total of 385 yards. I mean, he's not exactly a proven starter. The second glaring hole that the Cowboys have is on their offensive line. Who the heck is Brock Hoffman at center? The third most glaring hole that the Cowboys have is at the strong side linebacker position with the retirement of Leighton Vander Esch. They currently have DeMarvion Overshown listed at the position, and he's the only man listed at the position. The Cowboys haven't filled any depth behind him during the offseason, which leads me to believe that they need to draft someone to compete for that starting spot. Taking all of this into account, I've got the Dallas Cowboys selecting Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker out of Texas A&M at 24. Yes, that's a reach. Okay, I don't think anybody has Edgerrin Cooper anywhere near the first round. I think they may have graded him mid-second at best. But I had to take into account a few things. The first thing that I took into account is nobody is drafting a running back in the first round. My initial pick that I had here was Jonathan Brooks, the running back from Texas. However, that's a reach. Running backs shouldn't be taken in the first round. It's a waste of a pick taking a running back in the first round. So for that reason, I changed this pick. Then I had to think about, well, they don't have a starting center. There's a short list of starting centers in this draft. One of them, JPJ, has already been taken off the board. The next closest man the Cowboys could draft in terms of a starting center is the center from West Virginia, Zach Frazier. However, I don't have him graded as a first round pick. I have him graded as a second round pick. However, the Cowboys have been known to reach when it comes to this type of position. You've got to think about Travis Frederick in 2013. The Cowboys got a lot of crap for drafting him in the first round in 2013. However, Travis Frederick went on to be one of the best centers for the Dallas Cowboys. He's the perfect example here. Travis Frederick was not graded as a first-round pick. He was graded as a third-round pick at the highest. The Cowboys used a first-round pick on him. The Cowboys could pull another move like they did in 2013. They could take Zach Frazier in the first round. Wouldn't surprise me here. However, I think the Cowboys could try to get Frazier in the second round. Okay, so why Edgerrin Cooper? Cooper is one of the best linebackers on the board, and I think this year's linebacker class is overshadowed because of a plethora of options on the offensive line and in the wide receiver class. Why don't I have the Cowboys picking Chris Braswell out of Alabama at this pick? Well, the Cowboys didn't bring him in for a visit. However, they did bring in Edgerrin Cooper and Junior Colson. That's why I have the Dallas Cowboys picking Edgerrin Cooper at 24. Cooper fills a positional need, and he's out of Texas A&M. Is it a reach? I think so, yeah. Would I pick him at 24? No, I'd probably trade back. But it's the Cowboys. They make questionable decisions. So at number 25, I've got the Green Bay Packers selecting Dey-Shwuan. Yeah, I nailed that one. The tackle out of Oregon State. After doing some reshuffling and figuring things around, I've got him falling to the Packers here, and he's going to replace David Bacardi on the offensive line. Pretty easy pick if he's there. With the 26th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting Kool-Aid McKinstry, the cornerback from Alabama. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers shipped out a cornerback this offseason, and they import a starter. Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to Tampa Bay. He's going to ball out. That's straight, simple, to the point. Look at me go! So this is going to be more controversial than the JPJ pick or the Edgerrin Cooper pick. At number 27, I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting Cooper Dey-Shwuan, the cornerback out of Iowa. Now people are going to be flipping out because I still have Nate Wiggins on the board. Why would you have the Cardinals select Cooper Dey-Shwuan when Nate Wiggins is still on the board? Here everyone asks. Well, it's pretty simple. It's because there's talk of moving Cooper to safety, okay? And it looks like Buda Baker could walk in free agency. This pick is basically future-proofing for the Cardinals' defensive backfield. Cooper DeJuan can play safety, he can play cornerback. If he works out at cornerback, great. If Buda Baker decides to walk during free agency, great. They can slot Cooper in over there and draft another corner. Like it's basically covering themselves for next season. If they get a starter out of him at corner, great. If not, move him to safety and try him out there. I know it's a controversial pick, but it makes sense if you're looking into next year, okay? That's why I have Cooper going to the Cardinals. At number 28, I have the Buffalo Bills selecting Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver out of LSU. With the recent departure of Stephon Diggs, the Buffalo Bills find themselves in need of a receiver. And to be honest, I had to go look at tape on this guy. And what I saw was pretty astounding. The guy balls out. And Buffalo can't miss with this pick. This pick is a no-brainer. Brian Thomas Jr. has a tremendous deep game. And pairing that element with Josh Allen's deep ball makes for a very dangerous tandem. The Buffalo Bills can't miss on this pick. Now, I'm not sure about his route running ability. It seems to be sort of questionable. However, his ability to get the ball is what makes him shine. At number 29, I have the Detroit Lions selecting Nate Wiggins, the corner from Clemson. He's still on the board. The Lions are going to pick him because their defensive backfield was terrible last season. As good as the rest of the team was, the thing holding them back was their secondary. That's the word I've been missing this whole draft, is secondary. Cam Sutton was never good anyway. The Lions should never have paid that guy. And with his recent legal trouble, leaves a glaring hole in the Lions secondary. Nate Wiggins fills that spot nicely, okay? It's a plug-and-play type of thing. He immediately improves the Lions secondary. He's better than Cam Sutton. That's the pick. The Lions can't go wrong picking Nate Wiggins at 29. They need a corner. He's there. Boom. Oh, where are we? Okay, so we're at the last 3 picks. So these last 3 picks were pretty difficult. Every team seems to be fairly well-rounded. So I just sort of picked where I see each team going. Number 30, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Darius Robinson, the edge rusher out of Missouri. It just kind of looks like the Ravens could use some help on their defensive line. I know they've got Justin Madubuike on the one side. However, they have Broderick Washington on the other side, and he seems to be unproven as a starter. I think Darius Robinson can compete for that spot. So at 31, I have the San Francisco 49ers picking the big offensive tackle Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. The 49ers could use a tackle. I mean, they've got Trent Williams on one side, who's, 31? I think he's 31. He's 35. The man's 35 years old. And they've got Colton McKivitz on the other side, who seems average at best. Sorry, Colton. The only reason why I'm picking Guyton here is because Trent Williams is 35 years old. And as I said in the last video, it's never too early to start thinking about the future. I think Tyler Guyton is an intriguing prospect. He's a big dude. He has all the makings to be a starting tackle in the NFL. He could just use a year on the bench. And sitting him behind Trent Williams, probably the best place for him. Cool. That one wasn't that bad. And finally, at number 32, I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Graham Barton, the tackle out of Duke. Looking at the Chiefs roster, there doesn't seem to be any glaring holes on the offense or the defense. In fact, the only noticeable flaw looking at the Chiefs roster is their lack of depth on the offensive line. The Chiefs could very well move Graham Barton to fill a guard position or a center position. My understanding is he's fairly versatile, and that's what the Chiefs need right now. They need someone who can play any offensive line position. At least that's my take on it. You could call it a trash take. I'm going to call it a well-built roster who's signing the best player available. And there you have it. That's part 2 of my 2024 NFL mock draft. As I said in my last video, it gets kind of wonky during the middle of the draft. I think my largest reach was the Cowboys selecting Edgerrin Cooper at 24. And to be honest, they could go a couple different directions with that pick. That's just my take on who they may pick during the draft. That's based on looking at their depth chart and looking at their visits. And that's how I based all of my picks, is just consulting depth charts and consulting visits. I just came up and analyzed the needs of 29 NFL teams. It'd be 32 sans the Browns, the Panthers, and the Texans. I don't know, I had quite a bit of fun. I learned some stuff. All this is just opinion, and I'm spitballing off the top of my head. I feel like I did a better job than 95% of the drafts you see on the internet. I'm being honest with you. In fact, some drafts I find are just plain laughable. I did this and I put some serious thought into each pick. Like, I spent hours putting this list together, and then I even revised the list after I had to take a couple days to think about it. Like, I put some serious thought into my picks. It might not sound it the way the video is edited together, but like, there was a thought process behind everything. I feel like a lot of mock drafts go all willy-nilly and they don't put a whole lot of thought into what goes on. I feel like I did, and I feel like I did a pretty darn good job. What do you guys think? Did I make the right pick with Amarius Mims going to the Steelers? How do you feel about my Cowboys pick? Did the Chiefs go offensive line at number 32? I don't know. Let me know. Let me know how you think I did. Grade my draft. Let me know down in the comments how you feel. If you hate it, I'd love to hear it. If you love it, yeah, I'd like to hear that too. Yeah, I don't know.